Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Forge AI Labs, where we teach adult learners how to utilize and develop technical skills in order for them to become more efficient and experience socioeconomic and upward mobility in the workforce. Now for today's video, it is going to be on utilizing Google AI Studio for beginners. The reason that I chose Google AI Studio in particular is because, in my personal opinion, after utilizing various applications and tools for vibe coding, I understand now that Google AI Studio is actually the easiest tool to use for beginners. Now, for using Google AI Studio, I recommend you do not have to be perfect, just making sure that you're able to make an idea come into fruition. Now, before getting started building on applications, you don't immediately start prompting and trying to build. But instead, what you do is first try to understand the problem that you're trying to solve. And if not the problem you're trying to solve, understanding whatever process you're trying to automate or whatever tasking of yours that you're trying to make easier for you. That is what I typically do. Now, for today's example, the problem that I'm trying to solve is I want to have an app that can properly track my life expectancy, since I have been a lot more health conscious lately and eating better and trying to exercise more. And one of those reasons is understanding life expectancy, but life expectancy is very nuanced for people based on a multitude of factors, such as the country that you live in, or the diet that you eat, which in large part, it does center around geography and where in the world that you're living at, lifestyle, health information, things of the such. And for that, the solution is I want to solve a problem, which is create an app for users with vibe coding. And if you're not familiar, all vibe coding means is just writing prompts in order to create applications instead of traditional code, which essentially, whenever you have an idea, it removes the knowledge barrier or the personnel barrier in order to make it come true. Now you can create applications for yourself and potentially even for monetization, depending upon your prompting skills and the product that you produce in your idea. Now to get started, and so now that we understand what the problem is in this case, what I will write is I will say, I have become more health conscious and I want to create an app that allows me to track my life expectancy and for users of the app to have the option to do the same. The reason that I put users is just because that way it can be tailored to different people from different demographics, but you could tailor an application and make it very niche so that way it's for you and just for you in particular. And then the next thing is the issue of context. So I want the app to tell me my life expectancy with a summary and more detailed report explaining why my life expectancy, or for other users, why their life expectancy is where it's at currently. So in doing this, the goal is just understanding what the problem is. So now I typed out the problem. The next thing that I will want to do now is actually go in and type out more so different basic things that I would like to app to do. And then so I want So now before I continue, I will say this is the first part, just defining the overall issue. In this case is an application that people can track their life expectancy based off of their health information. And actually, one thing that I would include, and I will mention it again later, which is about HIPAA and PII information. If you're building apps that deal with HIPAA and PII information, I'll always recommend to upload input disclosures to those details and information, and also even putting barriers that prevent people from being able to input data into systems which carry sensitive information. That is something that I would recommend when building. So now the next thing, as I said, building, actually explaining some features, things that you would like it to do. So in this case, since I want it tailored and asking questions about health information, so first I would start saying, I want a at disclaimer in the application that states that you are not a medical professional and cannot give medical advice. This is for information purposes only. So that will be useful for later on down the line if you wanted to develop this more in security protocols and controls. This is something that is of utmost importance, especially in this context where I'm dealing with HIPAA information and PII. When I say HIPAA is just healthcare information, which is just considered sensitive and protected, and PII information are deep personal information details too that you do not want easily available to the wrong people out to the public, such as your social security number, as an example, or bank account information. Those are details that you want heavily protected, and especially in this case where it's health information. And and now proceeding on, what I would go into next is explaining and writing out the prompt for things that I wanted to do. So I want there to be a login screen for users to quickly create their account. So that way it's just a system for them logging in and creating an account. So this is just explaining just the experience of what you want people to do. So upon login, I want there to be a home screen with an option to create a life expectancy profile where questions are asked about age, race/ethnicity, diet, location of residence by country, and state/territory, city, and city. So it's just because, like I said, location does matter in this context. So just making sure you're giving AI context during your build. So yeah, location, so location of residence. Then on top of location of residence, also as well, other details such as optional health information such as health issues and being a tobacco or drug substance user, immediate family history of illness, and voluntary mental health information. So this just lets you know what you wanted to do essentially. And then as a simple last step, understand the last result. But before that, I will check my session to make sure everything looks just fine and okay. And before continuing, all right, so now I can continue. So yes, as a last step, all that I would do is just go from here and actually put the overall mission and goal. And I would just input the overall mission and goal of this app is to provide users a snapshot and detailed report data results of an estimated life expectancy. And so from here, I have everything created. So I will not do it for this session, but typically what you can do is you can copy the prompt that you just made. And then actually, I changed my mind, I will do that. Just for reference. So just really quickly, the next thing that I would do from here is you can use ChatGPT. You can also use Gemini or Claude just as other examples, but in this case, I'll use ChatGPT to do this. And I will not have the screen open, but all I would type is, and I'm doing it now, although you cannot view it, is just say, enhance the following prompt for me to build this vibe code app in Google AI Studio. So just a quick sentence explaining to ChatGPT what you want done exactly. And then so explain, and then from there you can just go and copy and paste your prompt and then input it into ChatGPT right after entering in your statement, and then ChatGPT will actually create a more in-depth prompt. And you can do the same thing with Gemini or with other platforms as well. So actually, I will share my screen just so you can see what it's actually doing in real time. So I just changed my shared screen, and as you can see, it's currently developing my actual prompt, and then it's actually developing a more in-depth prompt to ensure accuracy of the information. And from here, all that we would just do here is just wait for it to finish. And as I said before, there are other platforms, but you can see it's doing different details such as authentication, creating a fast account, logging in. And as you see, it does create a very in-depth, in detail, which is why you see here, we're just playing the waiting game at this point. And you can also write things within the prompt to make it less comprehensive if you would like, such as if it wasn't just for you. But I do like to always have the attitude of thinking of how this app can be usable to other people and not just myself as an individual. And it just finished creating now. And all I would do from here is just copy, and then I will switch my screen back to the Google AI Studio screen again. And from here, now I'm back to the Google AI Studio screen. So that all I would do is just, I would actually go in. Well, you can paste, I could have pasted what I wanted originally somewhere else, but I pasted it in ChatGPT, and that's why I feel comfortable with deleting, since I know exactly where I put it. But I will say, for documentation purposes, always make sure you have your data and information for anything you wrote or worked on saved somewhere. That way you just never lose your work, and you can always show your work later whenever needed or necessary. And now, so I did click copy, but that is something to be mindful of. You can also put inside the ChatGPT prompt copyable file, that when you click copy, you don't have details from ChatGPT just talking to you that you don't actually want inside of the platform. So you don't have to do what I'm doing now and deleting it, but that's just making sure you add more context. So that way you don't get things that you don't want, if you prefer to get things exactly how you want it on your first try. So now from here, I will just click build. And now I just wait while it creates the application platform to build. And actually, something that I will do after the build for time purposes is you can do this as well. You can actually, in build mode, actually use these modules to actually create your own admin user account here. And I do recommend ensuring that if you were to have other people use it, making sure you have overall control of your system, and a good admin account can do that. And also doing things like protecting your code. So I'll already see here where I can edit my code, but I will not want other users to be able to just easily access all my code, data, and information. Those are things that I want protected, so that way the wrong person doesn't get access to information and use it for malicious means. And as you see, it's still just creating, and yes, it does take some time. And I will do this now just so I don't forget, is also, I'm just going to, I will create a quick note in here to send, also create me a quick test user account with the username test and the password user. And then I will just put, I must be able to sign in immediately. So I will say I'm only entering this particular, I will, so actually it looks like I have to wait until it finishes building and generating. But once it generates, I will add this next quick feature to it. And I do actually recommend putting this, well, actually in this case, the only reason I actually used a prompt for this is just so that way I can quickly get into the application platform and not have to wait a significant amount of time. But this is just so that way I can actually get in as quickly as possible for testing purposes. But you already see now that someone can actually, so you already see now I have a created application that's actually showing what I wanted, so live snapshot. And of course, you already see we have an application, and as you see, I did not enter any code. I do not have a software developer background at all, but I do know how to write prompts. And since I know how to write prompts, now I can create applications. So it has a try demo feature. So actually the one question actually is not a big deal to ask. So, and then I can just do a first assessment just as an example. And then it does have the disclaimer for the exact reason that I stated, where this is an actual doctor advice. This is just for people on their own. So let's say in this situation, I'm not going to use myself. So let's say I'm not 19, I'm much older than 19. So let's say I'm a 19-year-old female, and my country of residence, let's say my country of residence is Kenya, and my race, and actually this is something else, I may even expand racial options since these are very broad. So in this example, so actually let's say for this example, let's just say this person is, let's say this person is, I'll just say they're Black and African American, and their diet quality. So this is something I would update. It just says good, excellent, fair, or poor. It would be better to update to specify the foods they're actually eating. And then exercise frequency, sleep habits, stress level. So you see now I'm actually able to go through, and then health conditions, family history of illnesses. And now, so it says here, based off of the person's current health and environment and habits, it is saying that their life expectancy is about 60 to 65 years old based on variables such as their country of origin, stress levels, health, and then also it says genetics, but I do think that the genetic categories are very broad, and that would be the next step where I would actually go in and actually update the app to create additional context. But this is a strong start, and as you see, you can even go in and click for longevity tips. And this is just the initial version. The next part will be actual testing. All right, thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the information, please like and subscribe. Thank you and have a great day. Goodbye.